Bonjour, everyone. Hi, this is Neshi Lokatz. Welcome to Star Nation's Communications from Home on Tuesday night, July 18th, 2017. Can you believe it's already July 18th? Halfway through July. Who knew how fast this month was going to go, right? Well, just like every other month, it feels like time just flies by. And we're going to kind of do a little welcoming and waiting for some people to come in to the chat room. And so welcome to Star Nations. I'm going to type this out. Nations, Communications from Home. With my guest tonight is Ortrun Franklin. Yay. There we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. And if you could do me a favor, for those that are already in the chat room, doing the chat, if you could please like and share the live stream, because that way we can let other people know that we're on the show and we're rolling with it. Because you know how that goes. Sometimes you get busy and time kind of goes by, right, too quickly. And all of a sudden you think, oh, I got 20 minutes. I got 20 minutes. I got time. And all of a sudden you're there. We're at the top of the hour. And so if you could do that for me, like and share. Now you can share it to your own timeline if you'd like. You can share it publicly. You can share it to any groups that you're part of, just to remind them that Star Nation's Communications from Home, we're on. We're live. We're live. Great. Thank you so much for doing that. I appreciate that. I did it too. See, I have my own phone. And it's kind of strange though, you know, when I'm doing that, because I can see the show live. I can see the show. No audio. What? Oh my. Okay, let's see. Rob says no audio. Hi, Connie. Connie, can you hear me? We're going to check our audio here. It seems okay. Rob, hi, Rob. Rob is saying no audio on iPad only. Huh. I don't know why that would be. That's interesting. And Connie can hear me. Okay, so Connie must be on her PC, on her laptop, or on her desktop, so she can hear me. I don't know. Rob, you might want to check your audio on your iPad, because that could be the issue. Don't we just love audio stuff? Especially, you know, with technology today. And I can hear somebody giggling in the background. That would be Ortrun, because we were playing around with audio stuff yesterday. I'm going to introduce you to my guest. I'm going to read a little bit about her. Ortrun Franklin is one of, we like to call them, her and Carl, her husband, Star Nation's elders. They have been with Star Nations since the beginning, since 2013. And they've known my business partner, my Nami, my sister, for a lot of years. And I met Carl and Ortrun back in 2013. So they've been with Star Nations for quite some time. They've been radio show hosts for us. And of course, they've also been writing for the magazine since we started the magazine. So Ortrun has many, many articles for us. Ortrun has led a very extraordinary life. She, as a child during World War II, lived in Eastern Europe and Yugoslavia area. And she's one of the group of that generation that had to flee from the East to the West. And so she experienced that as a very, very small child. And living in Western Germany as a child. And so she has that experience, and she shares that with us through the magazine and also through her radio shows as well. But one of the things that Ortrun brings to Star Nations is her expertise and background in Egypt and the Ascension process through the Egyptian belief system. And so she is also a Coptic minister since 1978. She's experiencing Egypt further, deepened her desire to understand the mysteries. She found the key of life, the mystery school, in 2011. So that was the year that she founded her mystery school. She instructs seekers about path of the mystery schools, assists individuals on their ascension path. As a meditation practitioner, she clears chakra blockages, and she's an intuitive spiritual coach and a disembodied spiritual emissary. And one of the things that Ortrun does at Star Nations is that she shares her guided meditations with us every month through her radio show, which is called the Mystery School Hour. And she also includes recorded guided meditations with each of her articles in the magazine. And I tell you what, when you experience one of her guided meditations, she's able to be able to take you places that you haven't been able to go in just your regular meditations. And it's a real treat and a gift to be able to experience one of her meditations. And so with that, I am going to bring Ortrun on. Here's Ortrun. Hi, Ortrun.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I'm going to take, let's see, I got to take that off the screen. There we go. We're going to hide that, and we're going to bring, that was there. Then everybody who's watching us is seeing who we are. Oh, good. We got more comments in the comment section. Jane says, I can hear you. Good. Yay. So you think you can dance? Oh, yes, I know I can dance. No problem there. And yay, Rob got his sound working. Good. And then Connie is with us as well. Thank you guys for being with us tonight, and everyone else that's going to be watching the recorded show, the recorded video. So, Ortrun, thank you for making time for us tonight. I appreciate it.
Well, it certainly is a pleasure to be with you. You know that. And Star Nations has meant quite a bit to me also. It's been one of my venues. I've done others. I've done radio shows other places. But I've especially been drawn, to Star Nations because of its representation of what they're here for, the bridging of heaven and earth. So.
Right. And our tagline for that we really do believe in on the magazine is your bridge to ancient and modern spiritual information, communications from home. And here is our July issue. Let's see if I can do this right here. If I can do this right. And there we go. All these buttons to push. I just got this issue, the print issue, in the mail yesterday, and so I get to show a little bit off here. This is Ortrun's article in the July issue, and the title of it was. I hope you can help me with the pronunciation of it. Eltern. It's the parents.
Uh-huh.
And she actually, I don't know if you can see this, but she actually was able to give us a photo of her parents on their wedding day. And she tells a little bit of a story about their wedding day and how that was. What I really liked about that, about your articles so much, Ortrun, is that you definitely include us in your heritage and in your culture. And to be able to share your language with us as well, because we've learned a little bit of German along the way, thanks to you.
Well, thank you. Well, when I write my articles, well, fortunately, you always have some kind of an idea for us, which I truly appreciate, because month to month, I think, what am I going to write about? And so the last few have been about mother, father, and this last one was about parents. And I think it's very interesting how the alternates, the elders, it's elders is what you talk about, with the indigenous groups and so on, and that really is the same word, altern, is elders. So
I didn't know that.
Yes, So it was really fun, but I just want to mention that picture. To me, it's very special because when we fled Yugoslavia, we had nothing, and I was 2 months old. And We fled, we lost everything, and we didn't have any pictures. And some of these pictures came out to us in 1976. My mother went back to Germany, and she met her stepsister who had still been residing in Yugoslavia.
Mm-hmm.
And they met, and she brought all these pictures. And so to me, these pictures that we have are very, very special. And that particular picture of my parents, that was taken in 1926.
Oh
So
my.
yeah, I think, my goodness, how old they are, really and truly, because my father, he was born in 1899,
Mm-hmm.
and my mother in 1906. So, you know, can't even imagine. And the pendulum I use is actually my mother's earring. She lost her one wedding earring, and so I have her one, which I made into a pendant. And that's what I use for my
Oh,
dowsing instrument. So I feel like
I didn't
she's
know
always
that.
working through me. Hmm.
Really, I didn't know that. I mean, I've seen you
Yes,
douse with it, but I didn't realize that it was your mother's earring that you use as a pendant.
right. Well,
Dowsing.
I, I always wanted her earrings. My father wouldn't allow her to sell her wedding ring and her earrings. Everything
Mhm.
else they'd sold.
Yeah.
And but anyhow, she lost one. So, like I said, I made this pendant, and I've told that story to a few different friends. And one of my friends said, "Well, just look at all the good you've done with it. Just because there's only one. If you had
That's
both of
right.
them, you wouldn't have been using it for this work."
Uh-huh.
And I do believe she's with me. And people even said after she passed her, made her transition, that
Mhm.
they felt there was something more of a power that started coming through me.
Really.
Yeah, that was
Aw.
back in '87. Hmm.
It's the power of love, isn't it?
Hmm.
The power
Yes.
of love.
Hmm.
Wow. Wow. And when you write your articles for us, you do share quite a bit of your family with
Hmm.
us, your parents and your siblings and your experience. And in the last few issues, you've actually also included, which I just love, is an excerpt of a future upcoming book that you're working on. And so, readers, listeners, if you really like to hear about those kinds of family memories and how they affect our spiritual growth and our spiritual lives and our physical life right now, um, Ortrun's articles certainly do help us do that. She's the bridge for that because you help people.
Thank you.
You do. And also with your guided meditations as well, because you match the guided meditation up with what you're writing about. So, can you? I really love the meditations because we also have samplings of them on Sunday morning. Lily, the Mistress of Oz, she goes through the selection that's available to us and puts them out there. And I know that many of your guided meditations are also part of the Sunday morning meditations. So, when did you learn how to do guided meditations? Because it's quite an art form.
Well, what's interesting about it is I was part of Coptics, very new into it. And actually, I have to say that John Davis said to me, he said, "Well, find a specialty." And I thought, I can do meditations. I, I can lead meditations. That's how it started. And when I first started, it wasn't as spontaneous. And I know now everything's channeled because I don't use, any materials for that. But back then, and I would find a little poem just to get me started and so on. And but people would start saying, that voice, there's something about that voice.
Hmm.
It's just so soothing and so on as well. Thank you. I appreciate that. And then the other remarks that would come through is, I love when you transition and go within yourself. They could tell the difference when I was actually, using part of a poem or doing a little bit of reading, and then I switched in when it started to flow through.
Hmm.
So that's really how I started. And yes, and that was just such a big part of me. And I recognized that that's really something I already knew how to do. I didn't realize it until I started looking back, because I'd be able to sit in a dental chair and just look at a dot on the wall and not have anything, any Novocaine or so on. And they would always remark, "How can you do that? How can you do that?" Well, I don't know how I could do it, but I think it was something I had already done, and I was bringing it into this lifetime. And
Hmm.
And it certainly became one of my main tools. I'm going to say it's probably my predominant tool.
Yeah, your primary one. I would have to agree with you.
Mhm.
I would have to agree with you. Because I've experienced your guided meditations, and I've been in a group where I wasn't doing the meditation because I was kind of helping with the group. And so to be able to be on both sides, to be able to experience it for myself, but also to watch other people as they're going through the meditation. And you can see it. You can see it in their face and in how they're sitting, how deep they're going, and what where they're touching parts of their heart and their soul that maybe they had never done before. So it's really to experience.
And yes, it's true because people will say that to me all the time. They'll say, wow, I don't know where I went, but I wasn't here, and so on. But
Mm-hmm.
with that, I'm a facilitator, and people go wherever it is that they're meant to go. And some will have said to me through the years, I like words. I want to hear your words. And others, they don't care about the words at all. They just want to be able to be guided to go somewhere else. But being a facilitator, you have to also recognize there's a responsibility with it,
Uh-huh.
because sometimes people go very, very deep into that silence.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you're there and they don't come back and they don't want to come back.
That's true.
Eventually, you have to start knowing how to, okay,
Bring 'em
just walking over to them and just holding their hand slightly, just very gently until
Mm-hmm.
you're able to have them come back. Because I've heard over the years that it's possible that, if you don't do something like that, they may not be able to come back into their bodies for quite
Mm-hmm.
some time.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a responsibility, all of us, of course, to make
Yeah.
sure anything we do of that sort that we are, being very, very much. I think it's an ethical type.
Ethical. Yes, it is. I just put a comment up for you to see. Kelly Spencer is in the chat room, and she's saying
Thank you,
that you look
Kelly.
lovely. And
Thank
she
you so
also
much.
and she also would like to say this to you. She loved your article.
Oh,
Incredible.
thank you so much, Kelly. I appreciate that. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I love it the way that we support each other, because Kelly Spencer is also one of our contributing writers,
Yes.
and we do read each other's articles. I'm here. I'm blessed and lucky to be able to read everybody's article more than once. As we're preparing for the issue to be published, I get to read everybody's article several times before the issue actually is published. So,
So the edit is just perfect.
well, we hope so.
I
We hope,
suppose
we hope so.
clean, but
Oh, yeah, because we have several eyes on it, and because after a while you don't see it anymore. You think you've seen it, but you're not, and so we bring a couple more people in to have fresh eyes to one last edit before we publish.
Right.
Now, the other thing that you bring to the table for us, which we also love, is the Ascension piece through the lens of Egypt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I have to back up about that
Okay.
also, because what I was not even involved in anything, I'm going to say metaphysical, although I was exposed to it at a young age, because my sister-in-law is the one that she was interested in astrology, and she had a guru and things of that sort. So I was always so fascinated by the stories she told.
Mm-hmm.
I was a single mom, and I walked into a Woolworths. Do you remember the 5 and 10 cent stores?
Yes, I do.
And I walked over to the jewelry counter, and there in this jewelry counter was this ankh. It was an ankh is an Egyptian cross, an ancient Egyptian cross. And I looked at it, and I said, "Oh, everlasting life." And I bought that ankh.
Uh-huh.
And then I wore it for years. It had to be, I think, 6 years before I actually became familiar with Coptics. And Coptics, of course, means Egyptian mystery schools. And
Uh-oh. There's that sound thing again.
I felt like I was guided to it. I was given this ankh, which I really didn't know anything about. I was attracted to it automatically. It was everlasting life.
Mm-hmm.
It was just leading me eventually to where I was to go. So that's how I ended up getting into Coptics. Uh-huh.
Well, that makes, I mean, that story really kind of puts it kind of a little bit of more of a focus in on it, because you just didn't go and study at somebody's mystery school to learn what you know. You came in with it. You know,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And I also know I don't speak about it that often, and I'm not going to go into it very deeply, but I do know that I have had um, lives in Egypt, and I didn't always know that, but that it came about as time went on, and I recognized because the various places that I visited in Egypt, and probably other people that have been there also experienced this, but you're just so drawn to certain areas.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the places that I was extremely drawn to was Saqqara. And Saqqara was actually, that's the first pyramid that was built in Egypt.
Uh-huh.
And it actually was built by the Atlanteans. And the Atlanteans, when they were fleeing their homes, they came in. There's actually a dried up riverbed that comes in from the Atlantic Ocean right to where the plateau of Giza is. So, excuse me. Well, it's actually a little bit lower, but it's in that same area. But it's
Mm-hmm.
the first part of also the Giza Plateau, because Saqqara was the first. Then Giza is actually an extension. It became the larger
Okay.
representation. So, but when I visited Saqqara, I didn't even go into any of the pyramids. Everyone else was climbing around down to look at the text and so on, and I went off by myself, and I felt like I was in heaven.
Mm.
I was standing there in the desert, and the sky was beautiful and blue, and the actually the sound of prayer was going through the valley, through the Egypt Valley, and so that was resonating and sounding through the Egypt Valley, and I felt like I was in this trance, and I was in heaven. I just felt like I was in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
It was just the most amazing feeling that I had experienced up to that point in time. And then there's a little child that climbed up from the valley up onto the bank, and that's what broke my spell. Was a
Oh,
little girl.
yeah.
But I was there really to study, to see things. But at that particular one, I never went into anything. It was so interesting. I just walked off by myself because I needed to be myself.
Uh-huh.
And some other places like that I experienced things like that also. So I really felt that I had this, attraction to Egypt, and there was just very interesting things. And the Egyptologist that I met when I was in Egypt,
Mm-hmm.
his name was Ahmed Fayed. He is actually, his family lives right across from the Sphinx. And he
Mm.
was third generation Egyptologist. He's passed away now.
Uh-huh.
And he was at my home one time, and I have this papyrus art in my living room. And I said to him, I said, "So what do these mean?" And he said to me, he says, "What do you think they mean?" He gave me permission to look deeper. So it was, and I never thought about as much about looking beyond the surface until he made that statement. And
Oh.
that's when it really allowed me to go within and start recognizing the depth of the papyrus art or anything that's there. There's always the outer story, just like there is in the Bible. There's this first level, and then the more you read, the more that you go within. And I have the key of life, which is the Ankh. That's where that part comes from in the mystery school. That's the going within, because you are the mystery. You're the mystery school. And that's the mystery you're trying to recognize and come to know. And so these different things are just ways for you to start having memory come up. It's like a mandala.
Yeah.
Looking at a mandala, and all of a sudden there's these inner thoughts start coming up, because of course we've gathered so many things throughout the times that we have been away from the heart and mind of God. So
You just said something. Oh, now we got an echo. That the mystery school is not outside of ourselves, but we are the mystery school, that the mystery school is within us.
That is really truly what I believe.
Yeah,
That is really what we're
that's
trying to figure
profound.
out, is that what is within us, and the different things of Egypt, the different temples of Egypt, they represent us. Every one of the temples represents us, and specifically, Luxor was studied for 15 years by, he was out of France, he was a theosophist. I think his Labatz was his last name. I can't remember
Yeah.
it right now. But he specifically studied that complex, and he found that proportionally that temple related to our physical bodies, like our foot compared to our calves, are compared to our, on and on, our whole bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And also, of course, that then relates to that reflection of the Milky Way, because that's us also. And it's all the same proportion.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a reflection of us. When we look at these different temples, even though we don't realize it, but our inner self, it starts to pick up these different symbols and the recognition that this is really us. And as I said, then this is a reflection of us now from the heavens. And we're made of that same kind of a composition proportionally. Yeah. So it's very fascinating to me.
Well, thank you for that, because this gives our listeners tonight a taste of what your articles are about, what your radio show is about. And it takes, because as you were saying that, I was thinking about the quote that everybody uses that comes from Thoth, right? As above, so below; as within, so without. What you just told us puts a whole nother layer of understanding of that phrase, and how well we reflect above, and it's thank you. Perfect.
You're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. So, and the teachings of Atlantis, actually even Lemuria too, they came into Egypt, and the Lemurian continent started to sink first, and they started moving. So they didn't all go at once. They started losing sections, so they found different places to live, and some of them moved into the Atlantean area, and then so when they came into Egypt with that first temple of Saqqara, they brought their teachings. They chose Egypt because Egypt was very balanced at that time. At that time, there was harmony, and Egypt itself, Upper and Lower Egypt, represents us too. That's another symbology of Egypt, is our higher self and our lower self. So it goes on and on.
Okay, so if somebody would like to study with you through the mystery school that you have, where do they find you? How can they find you?
Okay, now our mystery school, that's actually in Grand Rapids.
Okay, it's called the Key of Life, correct?
Yes, it's called Key of Life, the mystery school, and they can actually get to us actually even through the Facebook, Ortrun Franklin, or there's Key of Life Mystery School Experiences is another one of my sites, and those are all places that can connect us. Or our website, that's probably the best, and that's ourspiritualascension.com. And there on our website, my husband is very much also involved because we do much teaching together. So we have both of our things on that site. But there are recordings there. There are all kinds of things that you can listen to also. But also it has our schedule of events and the different, things that we're about, and the different readings and services that we provide. So that's, I'm going to say, the best place to find out about us.
That's ourspiritualascension.com.
Yes.
And I'm going to put that in the chat as well. Here's what Kelly has to say about what you just shared. You're so fascinating, Ortrun. I could listen to you all night. And we those of us who know you and have listened to your shows and read your articles, that is a true statement. Because, it's like, we want more. Give us more.
Well, I believe that everything is a teaching for us. And when I write about, I don't always write about my family, but when I write about the temples and my experiences, I always try and relate it to the individuals also, because I believe, and you've read articles of mine where it's sitting, having a sacred space for coffee.
Yeah.
And because everything is sacred, everything we do is sacred.
Mm-hmm.
And the experience that we can have by
Mm-hmm.
drinking coffee with someone.
Yeah.
So, and we start recognizing that. I'm getting chills right now, I have to say so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Good.
Everything is sacred. Recognize that. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's what I try to hear, this experience. Okay, maybe there was loss in my life, but
Mm-hmm.
yet with that, you grow and you become.
Yes.
And there's a closer union with the divine.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that is, thank you for that. I think that is a great way to wrap up our short interview for tonight with you. And because you're right, everything is sacred. Our life is sacred. And when you look at it that way, everything that we do and everything we touch can be sacred.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, I believe it is. I don't think I realized that early on, but as I've grown, I truly believe it is.
yeah.
Whether we think something's negative or positive, but we're here on a training planet to experience both positive and negative.
Yeah.
So that
we're in the mastery school, aren't we?
We certainly are.
And I'm just going to put in the chat on where you can get the magazine, information about the magazine. You can go to our website, which is www.starnations.org, and click on the magazine tab. And you'll find out all kinds of ways and how you can get the magazine, because we have it as a digital for Apple and for Android mobile devices. We also have it as print on demand. We also have it as a PDF and web viewer. So any way that you like to read your information, we have it for you. And if you go to our website, it'll explain all of that. And we have direct links to Apple and Google Play Store and our other partners, magcloud.com. And and so that's where you can find out more about the magazine and how you can purchase your own copy to read all these fabulous articles. And you can also get past issues. So if you read something about Ortrun's in the July issue or the June issue and you wanted to get more of Ortrun, you can always go back and purchase past issues. And like I said, she's been writing for us since 2013, so she's got a lot of information there. And Denise Iwana, my NAMI, my business partner, she calls them volumes, because she says they're like resources, and that lots of people, what they do is they keep the magazines for that resource. So if you like to do it that way. Ortrun, thank you so much for making time for us tonight.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been wonderful, and thanks for everyone that tuned in.
Yeah.
I appreciate every one of you, and love all of you too. Truly, I do. It's from my heart.
I know, and we love you too.
We
love you too. And next time we're going to have Carl on. Is he around by any chance?
He's in the other room.
I was going to say, come in and say you do a photobomb and say hi.
Well, I saw him a minute ago. I saw him walking by
outside.
I think I would have to leave and call him in. It would take a minute. So.
No, that's all right. We'll get him on the show, on another show, yes, and see if he can sit with us for a few minutes and chat with us. But I'm going to do a little something here for Star Nations, and you're going to be back in the green room, okay?
Okay, sounds wonderful. Thanks again.
Mm-hmm. All right. Wasn't that fun? I just wanted to also mention to our listeners here is that we also, let me hide that, get some room here, about the books that we published at Star Nations. This is Julie Hedges' book. It's the Tarot Journey. And if you love the ancient language of Tarot and you're just learning, or you're an intermediate learner or user of the Tarot, or you're a teacher, this book really does cover it all. Julie is one of our contributing writers and also a radio show host for us as well. And then we just published this book for author Minnie Kansman, Missing Nana. This is a children's book. And what she says, what Minnie says, it's meant for children from 3 to 103. Don't you love that? And what it's about grief, and it's about losing somebody who is close to you, that they've passed away, that they've walked on, that they've transitioned back into spirit. And what's interesting about this book is that Minnie brings it from the perspective healing, working with the grief, working through the grief with the nature spirits. And that's the first time I've ever seen a book, especially a children's book about grief, where the healing comes through the nature spirits. And so you can find both of these books as ebooks and also print, available at lulu.com and also at barnesandnoble.com and amazon.com. Okay, so with that, thank you so much for joining us for Star Nations Communications from Home, and with my special guest tonight, Ortrun Franklin. And we'll see you again next week. And next week we got my Nami. She's coming on with me, Denise Iwana Francisco. She's going to be on with me, and we're going to be sharing with you a little something that Star Nations is coming up with, and more about her articles with Temple Within, and her editorials. And she also helps us find beautiful pictures of astronomy for each issue. So join us next week on Star Nations Communications from Home on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. Okay, good night, everybody. We'll see you next week.